There was this article recently about the fact that they've uncovered information that, the Russians had actually given money to put out, hits on troops overseas, and probably something you experienced, and you put out a comment about that. But you also took it a step further and said, Russians and Chinese funding isn't just in wars and against people like you overseas, but it's also happening in our own homes. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Both points.
Yeah. I mean, how incredibly naive would it be for us to assume that our enemies, and they are our enemies, the Chinese and Russians, if they are paying to have terrorists kill soldiers overseas, do you not think that they would be trying to undermine the fabric of our society here? Like, that is the most irrational thing ever, to be like, wait, they would go to such an extreme to be paying terrorists to kill Americans that they wouldn't come on to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok and try to rile you up, that they wouldn't pay to deliver a pallet of bricks in Dallas, that they wouldn't pre-position bottles full of gasoline in Atlanta, that of course they would. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world, right? Like, they have found an opportunity and maybe a torn little bit in the fabric, in the seam of our nation's cohesiveness. And they're like, oh, we got to divide this right now. It would be insane. We know they've been doing it for decades. Like, if you go back to the 50s, they have been trying to implement the same plan since then. They play this very, very, very long game. They have, like, we call them Jedburghs, which are, when you think of a spy, you think of like this espionage sneaky guy that's gonna like come in here and like cut wires or like assassinate somebody. Like, maybe in the spy world, that's 5%. The other 95% are at a protest. They're in Washington, D.C. working for a lobbyist. They are trying to get a tenure at a medical institution. Like, that's really the majority of it. They are trying to become a professor at Harvard. Like, those are the really damaging ones that over time they'll be able to plant seeds of anti-American sentiment that will grow and flourish. And they do this over generations, and they're really, really good at it. But I don't know how as we watch what is a great protest, like, we're against racism for sure, right? If you're against racism, raise your hand. Everybody raises your hand. Like, are you against somebody putting their knee on somebody for 9 minutes and choking them to death? Yep, everybody's going to raise their hand. Like, are you for taking Molotov cocktails and throwing it inside of a Target? No, crickets, right? Like, nobody's for that. So how is this happening? Well, like, emotions are high, fear is high, and then there are professional agitators. You can call them whatever you want. I call them Jedburghs because, like, that's what we call them on our side. And these guys are literally putting gasoline on already a burning fire, like, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. And it is completely for the sole purpose of dividing this country. During the elections in 2016, it was widely reported that both Russian and Chinese bots were manipulating social media and the election. Totally true. Did they stop doing that? They're like, oh, all right, I guess we're done. No, that's crazy, right? They got even better at it. And you think that they're like just far alt-right dudes, neo-Nazi dudes? No, they're not. Do you think that they're just Antifa, just like BLM, just protesters? No, they're not. There are a ton of them on both groups, like pro-LGBTQ, anti-LGBTQ, and they get so good. Like, they're not fake accounts, because they're real people that are running a variety of accounts, and they are members of these groups. And they're like, so let's say it's Tim Kennedy Green Beret at whatever Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, Brian, that's a really great idea. We should totally go and do that. Fantastic. And you're like, hey, I like this guy. I'm gonna like his comment. And like, your friends like me, and then over time, over years, that account gets stronger and there's more support. But then occasionally I'll like go over to that Antifa group and be like, oh, F you guys suck. And then like all of my friends and your friends are like, hey, yeah, I'm with Tim on that. That's a great plan. You guys suck. But all the while, I'm also running an account over on the Antifa side. Same little spy guy is over there, and I'm the first to reply. And I'm like, oh, you guys suck. You Brian suck. You Tim, and all of your guys suck. And like, then it gets even more hotter, and then even more hateful things are said. The whole entire time, it's one guy running two accounts on opposite ends of the conversation that is just stoking the fire of hate. We know they do that. We know they're doing that. And they're doing it in real time. We're talking about a digital separation. To them, it's not. They plant the bricks, they plant the Molotov cocktails, they put specific agitators at these protests to make it from a peaceful protest to a riot to a looting to a blah, 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 blah. And then once that wheel is turning, man, they don't have to do anything else. They can just hang back, get back online, and say some more crap. So, yeah.
And yet most people probably don't know that's happening. But if they did, like, so you've just said this, if people are nodding their head and saying, maybe that Tim is probably right, what do we do with that information?
Stop reacting out of fear and hate, first of all, because the person that's sitting there stoking the fire and poking and pushing your buttons to get you all fired up, dude, that might be some Russian or Chinese bot guy sitting over there and be like, got this idiot. Cool, another dumb American is playing into my plan. Now, just relax, man. We're all on the same side. We literally all agree with each other. There are some like little things that we need to tweak and improve about our society. Sure, we can go take down the statue of Christopher Columbus in Columbus, Ohio. I'm fine with that. Maybe I think it should stay, but if you think it should go, cool. We'll figure it out. But to sit there and to throw hate and to think about burning something down or destroying something and be like, hey, that's Starbucks. We should go smash that window. Oh, fortunately, there's a bunch of bricks right here. How convenient. You're like, come on, man. Don't be so naive. Don't be so easily played. And don't forget that we have real enemies out there that are trying to do us harm. The best case scenario they could have is us to continue down the path that we're on, which is hating each other.
Now, what do you say to the kid who's 20 years old who says, Tim, they're not our enemies. Why do we have to fight with them? Can't we just get along? We're trying to make peace with Russia. The Chinese make our phones. Like, what do you say to that argument that that's an old way of thinking or that's a military guy's way of thinking? I'm not saying I agree, but
they are literally right now in China forcing abortions on Muslims. Like right now. Am I Muslim? No. Do I think forcing somebody to not be able to have a child or the child they're carrying has to be aborted because I don't believe with their religion? That's pretty un-American, right? So I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm against that. Like, do you know what they do to homosexuals in those countries? Like, I'm not a homosexual. I have a beautiful wife with some fantastic kids. Do I care what you do? Absolutely not. Do I support you being able to make any life decision that you want about whatever your sexual preference is or sexual identity? For sure. I will go make you a marijuana hemp-based cake that says like love wins in a beautiful gay rainbow and bring it over to you and I will officiate your wedding because that's what being American is. But like you're pushing a gay dude off the top of a roof, we're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have to fight me to get to that guy. And so to those kids, you gotta wake up. Do not believe what you are seeing on the digital side because that is manipulated and that is not true. Go see it firsthand. Come with me to the countries that I have been to and see what happens firsthand to those outlying groups and those disenfranchised small ethnic groups that maybe in North Iraq, like the Kurds. It's been pretty rough there. I've seen it firsthand. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about because I've picked up the dead bodies.